Hey everyone, this is Editing Val, hopping on before we get to the actual episode because I need to fact check my own episode. And I am also my own fact checker, so I don't know how this works. But you're about to listen to another wonderful episode, which I recorded after I was having a really hard day. And it's apparent to me because of all of the things I misspoke about in this episode. So apologies to my guest, Kimberly, for hijacking the front of the episode like this, but I just need to come clear on a few things. First of all, the last time I went to Wyoming was in 2019. I definitely had met Eric before I got married because he was my husband's roommate. I spent a ton of time with him. I was in his company a lot. Also, third thing, I remember my groomsmen. I remember their names. I remember the names of my bridesmaids. Just to be clear, there was one other thing. Oh, I know how to edit contacts in my phone. I had to come clean on all of those things before the episode. It was a rough day for me. So, my apologies again to Kimberly. Here we go right now that I've come clean on all of those things. You're listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hi, friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. So glad to have you joining us today. Today, you get to meet one of my friends I've had for the last 2+ decades, Kimberly Ough. Kimberly and I actually met at my wedding, and our friendship started a couple of years after that, but we have been friends in life through some really big times and some really hard times over the last 20+ years. I am so glad you get to be a part of our conversation today. She is just a sweetheart gem of a person, and she I'm laughing even remembering some of the jokes that I've said and some of the laughs that I've had maybe at her expense, and she has just tolerated so much over the years. God bless you, Kimberly. But our friendship has been a blast, and I'm so glad to get to introduce you to her today and to have her share her experience as a mom and a little bit into her career and her advice for the rest of us moms as well. So without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend, Kimberly Ough. I am so thrilled to have my friend Kimberly with me. Kimberly and I go way back, and we will get into that. But first, Kimberly, say hello to everybody and tell us the ages and stages of your kids and where you are in motherhood.
My name is Kimberly, and my oldest, Abigail, is 16. Oh, I always have to think about their ages. Caleb is 13. Oh, and his birthday is in May. Oh, and then Lola is 10.
And her birthday is in October. I just felt like we had to throw that in there. So you and I met. Do you want to tell the story, or should I tell the story?
You go right ahead.
So a lot of the guests that I've had on the podcast, I've known them for maybe a decade, or we came to know each other right around the time Harlan died, or 10, 15 years maybe max. But you and I met when I married my husband. Your boyfriend at the time was a groomsman in our wedding, and you were just sweet as could be at the reception telling us how lovey-dovey we were. And I think there was something in there about what an inspiration we were. And I was like, she is just as sweet as can be. And you were having a lot of fun.
Yes.
At our wedding, a lot of fun. And so that's when we met. And I'm not even sure if I remembered your name.
I don't think you did. I don't think so.
Not. There was a lot going on for me that day.
Yes. You were quite busy. Yes.
But then we met again when you married said groomsman. Yes. And Brent and I traveled back to Fargo just a couple of years, right? Are you guys 2005?
Yes.
Okay. So we had a great time at your wedding as well. And I remember when we were leaving, your husband gave me a hug and he kissed me on the cheek and he goes, "You guys need to move to Fargo." And I was like, "You're nuts." And then I think it was 6 months later we moved to Fargo.
Well, we looked at the apartment for you. We went
Yeah.
apartment shopping for you. That's putting a
Yeah.
lot of trust in
And
somebody.
I was remembering that too because tonight I was putting on some eyeshadow and I was kind of being a little experimental with this what a color that I feel like is a bold color. But I remember the landlord there had like remember her eyeshadow?
No, I don't.
It was like radiant blue.
Oh, funny.
Yes. I don't want to say her name like out of respect for her, but she was an older woman, the brightest blue eyeshadow I've ever seen on anybody, and it was quite thick. But yes, you and your husband Greg have been. I mean, Greg and Brent grew up together, and you and your husband Greg have just been a part of our lives for 20 plus years.
I know. That's a long time.
I know, and we've been
Oh,
through a lot together, and every major and some of the minor things that we've been through, you guys have been right there. So I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
well, I'm thankful you asked me.
Yes. So there is one story I would love to get into if you're all right with it. And it was when you had Abigail, your oldest. Brent and I had just come back from a trip. And I think like the next day, you had Abigail, and also Brent was leaving for another work trip. So we got home, he slept for one night, he left the next day. And I went to the hospital, and itty bitty Abigail was hours old, and I got to hold her, and you had a bit of a moment.
I
I
still have those moments.
know.
I will never forget that moment.
I know, and it's one of my favorite stories and one of the favorite things that we talk about. But go ahead and tell me what happened in that hospital room and what you were experiencing.
Oh, well, we had some guests, and they had toddlers, and I was holding my baby, and I think the hormones just started to just fly. And I remember I couldn't wait for these guests to just leave because I wanted to just cry.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried, and I think I ended up looking like a Mack truck hit me because I was just crying. And I'm like, does this little baby know how much I love her? And I am just wailing. And I'm like, I want to do this again. And I'm just, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know. It was a moment where I was so in love with her, and I just wanted to keep her my baby forever. And I
yeah.
still do.
A big part of that moment, and I think the emotions for you, we was you realized that she was going to grow up, and you didn't want that. Like you just wanted this itty bitty baby. And
Yes.
that was part of like even the toddlers being in your room. You were like, "No, I don't want toddlers."
Yep. And I still feel that way. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what this is, what kind of condition I have, but I don't want them to grow up. I mean, some people are like, I can't wait for them to grow up and, get out of the nest. And I'm like, no, I just keep
Yeah,
them.
yeah. You're a very nostalgic individual, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you and I were pregnant at the same time twice,
Yes, we
which was
were.
yeah. So we were due at the same time, right? When you had Caleb, you said he was born in May. That's right, because I wasn't he due May 19th?
Yes.
Why do I remember this?
I don't know because it's important. It's somewhere tucked back in your
I know.
memory somewhere.
And I think Haley was due like May 10th or something. So we
Okay.
were we were within a couple of weeks, but then of course Haley ended up coming 2 months early. And I do remember you coming to the hospital. You're pregnant with Caleb, 7 months pregnant with Caleb, and you came in and you were like, "We were supposed to do this together."
I know. What did you do that for?
Well, Kimberly, I didn't plan for this. I didn't plan for her to come 2 weeks early or 2 months early. And then it was at her birthday party her third birthday party, and I was very pregnant with Harlan, and you had like just found out that you were barely pregnant. I think with Lola, you were like 8 weeks or something.
I know I found out in like somewhere in February of 2013
Okay. And
that
so
I thought I was pregnant.
Haley's birthday would have been that March then. Yeah. And
Oh, it
then
was at Yunker Farm. That's right.
yes, which
Okay.
doesn't exist anymore. Is that right?
No, they closed it.
Oh, that's
I
so sad.
know. I
That's so
know.
sad.
I know. See,
Well, I'm
again,
glad
the nostalgia.
I'm I know, I'm glad we got to have a party there nonetheless. But so yeah, we've been through some stuff together. What is one of your favorite things about motherhood, being a mom?
I have to think about that. I don't know. I guess I just love watching. I do love watching who they're growing up and turning out to be. I do
Mhm.
enjoy that. It's just, I think the the fact that Abigail's become inching closer and closer to becoming a senior, I think that's why I've been having these moments that reverted me back to when I was in the hospital. But
Yeah.
I've been, I think that's what's kind of triggering it. But it is fun to see what are they becoming like? What are their interests? You know, Lola loves animals more than I ever have. And I'm like, well, you're going to probably be a vet. And she just loves it. Just so it's just fun to watch them develop and see what their interests are. I guess it's one of the things. I guess.
When you and Greg were together getting married, was motherhood always on the radar for you?
Yes, I remember I told Greg one time. I said, I don't know. I want to do fitness because that's what I went into, but I said I just want to be at home and be a mom. That was
Mm,
all I wanted to do. Just be at home and be a mom. I remember having that conversation with him.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so did you know, like, was 3 kind of what you envisioned, or were you just open to whatever?
No, I had seen the movie Cheaper by the Dozen. I wanted 6. Like, I wanted 6. And then we had 3. And then, I always wanted that 4th because we had Lola. And every time we would have a baby, I would make Greg promise me before we would leave the hospital, promise me we'll do one more, one more. And then when we had Lola, I'm like, okay, good. That was the last one. That was the last one. But when we left the hospital, I'm like, this 4 won't be so bad. Like, can we,
Yeah.
So I still was open ended about it. But now
Yeah.
I'm 44. You know, that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, I mean, Sarah was what, 98 when
I
she
know.
you got time.
Oh my gosh. I know. We're studying that in our Bible study in Genesis, and I'm like, oh my word. And sometimes I tear up at that story too. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud.
It's okay. We're all about crying here. It's fine. So you mentioned going into fitness, and you and I have come to you multiple times, been like, Kimberly, how actually, you know what, I was just, this is a random aside, but I was just thinking about this today. So I think when I met you, when we were first moved to Fargo and all of this stuff, I always called you Kim.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I was like, okay, clearly she wants to go by Kimberly. So I just started calling you Kimberly, but I still have you in my phone as Kim.
Funny. Do you want to know
And
why I like Kimberly better?
why?
Because my last name used to be, okay, funny story. My
Oh,
last name
right.
used to be Mo, and then I went to O, and I couldn't wait to change it. Well, what is that? Well, when people would call me in high school, and back then, it was Kim Mo, and I
Kim.
hated Mo, and then it's still Kim Mo, and I'm like, forget it, it's Kimberly.
Is that one of the favorite things about your and Greg's friendship with me and Brent is all of the names we would come up with for your potential children to go with the last
Oh
name of
my
O?
gosh, we'll still remember some of those names. Oh my
Some of
gosh.
them are pretty good. I'm gonna tell you that some of them still make me laugh. Maybe not like entirely noteworthy to share to a podcast audience, but they are pretty funny.
Yeah, they were
I'll
good.
tell you. So okay, but back to fitness. I approached you many times and over the course of these last several years and been like, Kimberly, I need you to tell me what to do. Like, I can't live like this anymore. I'll give you a confession right now. So when we hopped on here, you were like, "How are you?" And I was like, "Oh, it's been a day." So an hour before we got on to record this conversation, I was in the bathroom crying because of all the things of being a mom and an adult, and like the weight of the world just kind of rested on my shoulders today, and everything was falling apart and I'm a failure and blah blah blah. All of these things
Mm.
went to my freezer, and I got out an emergency stash. Like when I bake muffins or cookies or whatever, I always put extra in the freezer in case we have surprise company or something. I can just pull it out of the freezer and hey, here's dessert. Went and got one of those emergency stashes of cookies that I had baked a while ago. And I was like, this is it. Like, this is how I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to eat these cookies while they're still frozen because that's what I do. How do you coach other moms to get past that mindset? Like, and I'm not saying like, oh, tell them reach for a carrot stick instead, because here's the deal. It gets to be so much. And when you think about implementing changes, especially multiple changes at once, right? It's just overwhelming and you quit before you even begin. So, what would you say to encourage those moms when they're in those stressed out moments and they just want to go for the freezer bag of cookies?
Well, stop and think. Just take a deep breath. I've been doing this thing where you just stop and just close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths, like those stomach breathes. The
Yeah.
breaths breathes, those stomach breaths. Where you just calm your heart rate down a little bit, and then
Mm.
maybe just step out for 5 minutes and maybe just go for a little walk and just take a TO. Just
Mhm.
get away from the situation and just take a breath.
That's really good and simple enough, right? Because I think, and do you feel like when you started out in your fitness and coaching journey that you were super excited and you wanted people to just implement all the things, and like who wouldn't want to exercise and
Yes, because I know what
the,
I feel like. So I'm like, let's just give it up. Let's just do it right now. Just do it all.
yeah. But then
Yeah.
there are other people in the world, God bless them. I mean, that's me. I'm the other people in the world that are like, that's the last thing I want to do. So over the course of time, then how has your approach shifted in really partnering with them and just helping them kind of overcome?
Well, just doing pockets of time. If you have 10 minutes, maybe it's not even going down and getting a full workout in. Maybe you just are in your kitchen and you're cooking, and maybe you just do some standing lunges and just get your muscles moving. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get dressed and put your shoes on if you don't want to. Just do some squats, do 10 squats, do 15 squats. Just get your body moving. And just
Yeah.
right where you are. If it's pockets of time, whether if it's 2 minutes or 10 minutes, or if you're watching TV and during a commercial break, you could do some ab crunches just during the commercial break. I mean, you're sitting there anyway, and you might as well just get your body moving and just pockets of time.
So if your husband or kids, like if you're cooking dinner and your husband and kids walk in and they see you, doing squats while you're stirring the ground beef, do they just know like maybe give mom some room tonight?
Yeah. Well, and when they were younger, they would probably join me, but now they just like, Mom, what are you doing? But
Yeah. You guys are a pretty like fit together family, right? You do a lot of physical activity together.
I like, yeah, in the summer we like to go for a lot of walks, and bike rides. But then the kids individually now, like Abigail is getting ready for track season, and so is Caleb. So they're at Athletic Republic, and then they're at Sanford doing this, and so they're doing their own thing. Because I found that I wanted my kids to just go down and just get their workout down there, but I think they like getting out and being around other people. So there is that aspect too, where people just want to get out and they want to socialize a little bit. So they like to be around others when they're doing their workout. So it's not
Mm.
like me, I can just go down and do it myself. I like to be by myself and I'll just do it alone. But then there's others where they need that other external motivation. And I think my kids are that.
What was the real jumping off point for you to even consider going into fitness to begin with?
Oh man, I didn't want to go into fitness. I was at NDSU. I wanted to go into dietetics because I wanted to be just like my aunt. So I wanted to go into dietetics, and I got into chemistry. Oh, I was sitting in this chemistry class, and there was no way. I'm like, I'm not going to pass this class. So I dropped it before I failed it. So I dropped
Mm.
it. And then my roommate told me, she goes, Kim, I don't see you getting in there and just writing up, meal plans. She said, I see you getting out there and encouraging and motivating people and let's go. And I said, you're right. So then I started looking at MSUM, and they had an exercise science program there. I didn't know that NDSU had one. I wasn't really guided very well in college, but I transferred over to MSUM, and I went into exercise science, and I loved it. Loved it. And then I finally got a job at Lady Wellness, which is no longer in existence. But I went personal training there, and I loved it. So
Mhm.
fun. So I just had a lot of fun with fitness.
And you met your husband because of fitness, right?
Yes, I did. Like over at Quartz Plus before I went over to Lady Wellness, I'd get up. Oh, you guys, I'd get up at 3:30 in the morning to get ready for work. I had to be there at 4:30 to open up by 5 and then get my circuit classes set up for 5:30. Oh, I did that for a year. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
Done. Peace out.
No. Well, what are some of the things that you have noticed over the years, especially with regard to motherhood? Because I mean, I'm here to tell you, it can be so stressful, emotional, you know, up and down. No day is the same as the previous day. What are some things that you've noticed just, maybe exercise, walk around the block, lifting some weights, doing some dance aerobics or whatever it is. How has that helped you in your motherhood journey, do you think?
Oh, it just gives you it's a stress reliever. For me, it's just I need to go. I'm not feeling so hot. I'm gonna go downstairs and I'm just gonna maybe it's some turbo fire. I don't know, but maybe it's just a ride on the bike, or maybe it's whatever it is. It kicks those endorphins in for me, and I just feel so much better when I'm done. I'm like, okay, I'm good now. I got it out
Yeah.
in the gym and I'm ready to go again. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have noticed real life testimony that it boosts your mood?
Yes, absolutely. I feel so much better. I just I feel leaner. I feel fitter. I feel like, okay, now I'm gonna go. I feel better okay, what am I trying to spit out? I feel better when I work out. And then that's going to push into my day because I'm gonna want to eat better because I feel
Mhm.
good. I don't want to feel crappy, so now I'm gonna eat a good breakfast. So I'm gonna get
Mm.
my veggies in. I feel better. So it kind of takes you through the day a little bit
Mhm.
too. Makes you make wiser choices, drink more water, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. There are many times that I have taken your advice and implemented small changes, but then I just, raid the freezer on a
I
bad
know.
day.
But that's the thing too, is the small thing. It's not like, okay, I have to go all in 180 degrees, just gone. It's just take the small steps. It's like, okay, if you are a soda drinker, maybe take one of those sodas and replace it with 20 ounces of water instead. And just small changes like that, because those smaller changes, if you keep adding to that, they're going to add up to big changes.
I think it was you that I saw share something that said one way or another. I'm going to butcher it, but the point was one way or another, you're going to pay for your health,
Uh-huh.
either upfront or at the doctor's.
Yes. I mean, one way, yes. I said something about investing. One way, sooner or later, you're going to end up investing in your health, whether it's getting a membership at a gym or personal training or buying a program or, whatever, or you're going to end up with, somebody might end up with diabetes and having to go to the doctor and maybe knee pain or, something like that. So
Yeah.
some way we have to invest in our health, whether it's, hey, mental health too.
Hmm. Hmm. One thing that love, Kimberly, like I said, we've been friends for, 2 decades now, is you and I are so very different. You get stressed or discouraged, and you're like, all right, it's time to go do some Chalene Extreme or, whatever it
You
was, whatever it was from back then. But, and even though we're so different and we live different lifestyles, I mean, we have been through some stuff together. And that's one thing that I love. Like, I think probably there are people who have been out there in the trying to make these steps, trying to make these positive changes. And the people who they surround themselves with do end up judging them for not making the same choices that they would make. But I've never felt judged by you.
Oh, I'm good. I'm glad because I don't
Yeah.
want people to feel judged. I want it. I'm here whenever people are ready. I mean, it's that's what it comes down to is they have to be ready. Otherwise, they're going to feel forced and it's not going to be fun.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
having fun is a big part of it too, I think.
It is. Otherwise, because if you feel like it's a chore, who wants to do that all the time? You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
you're gonna feel forced to do it, and then it's not. You're not going to be as engaged, and then you're going to likely fall off a lot sooner than if you were having fun and finding something that you enjoyed. If it's
Yeah.
going for a walk with a friend, make that it.
Yeah. I remember the last time that Brent and I were in Fargo together and we went to see you guys. And I think you were either out with a kid or running an errand or something. So you weren't at the house yet. And your husband answered the door and we walk in and he gives me a hug. Well, he gives Brent a hug and then he gives me a hug and he's like, "How are you?" And I said, "Fat and sassy." And like as he's hugging me and he just like, you know, those toys where you push the bottom and they just kind of like collapse because they get like their strings just go loose and he just kind of collapsed. He was not expecting that answer, but it was true. But you know what? I still think some of my favorite memories are going to your guys' place, and you were always, there were some crazy recipes that you were like, "This is what we're having tonight." And I was like, "Yay." Rather not, but we are guests and I will power through. Like one in particular, I remember the first time I ever had black bean brownies.
Oh, we haven't made those in a long time. Those are good.
Well, that was the first time I had them was at your house. And you know what? Yeah, they weren't bad.
Yeah,
And
would you
really
have known?
everything that you made, I was like, "Oh, why is she doing this to us?" It was always good.
So, would you have known if we wouldn't have if we would have told you about black beans? Would you have known?
No.
Oh, good.
No, I wouldn't have been like, "You know what this tastes like? This might sound weird, but it tastes like it didn't taste like black beans at all."
Oh, yeah, that's good. So maybe I just keep my mouth zipped whenever
Oh,
somebody
well,
comes
I'll
over.
tell you, like, it didn't taste like no Duncan Hines box mix brownie. Like, let's be clear. But it didn't taste like black beans either.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you guys are a physical family. You enjoy doing, you know, your kids are in sports together. Abigail runs with you, right? For races and stuff?
Yeah, we did. Well, she did a Wonder Woman 5K. It was a couple years ago. And then I wanted to sign up for the 10K because it was a really cool medal. I love Wonder Woman. And it was a really cool medal. And I'm like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to make myself earn that thing because that thing was awesome. I love
Yeah.
that thing. It's my favorite one. And I ran 6.2 miles on a bum foot, but my time was great. I just ignored it. I just kept pushing. I'm like, I earned it. I earned it hard. And it was fun. And then we'll go out and we've done a couple of virtual 5Ks together. So
Mm,
that's
mhm.
fun. Hmm.
Yeah. So what is parenting today compared to what you thought it might be?
I don't know that I ever thought it would be anything in particular. It's
No?
just no. I just kind of going with the flow. But you know what that saying um, that people have told you that it gets easier when they get older? They're lying. They said it got easier. So I just feel like it just changes. Everything is different. You know,
Yeah.
when you're at home and you have toddlers and you're stepping on toys and you're trying, this one's crying and this one's throwing a fit, and then you have to be over at this appointment, you know, and you have to leave in 5 minutes and everything is chaotic.
Mm,
It's just different. I mean, now I'm an unpaid Uber and I'm going all over the place and getting to school
mhm.
and getting to activities, and now Abigail is, can I take the car? And it's so different. It's not easier. It's just different.
Are there parts of mothering your kids that like you can remember being that age and that kind of situation? And if you remember it, like, does it change how you react or respond in the moment?
Not really. I
No?
think Abigail is so much better than I was at that age.
Mm.
I feel like she's a better student. I feel like she's a little bit more grounded than I was. She has a different upbringing than I had too. So
Mhm.
that might play a role in it.
Yeah.
But no, I feel
Yeah.
like she's better at that age than I was.
Yeah. Do you think that your upbringing plays into how you mother your kids?
Yes. Because sometimes I can see myself reverting back into the way I was brought up. I'm like, oh boy, I need to not do that. So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. So along those lines then, what role has your faith journey played in your motherhood journey?
It's played a big role because I know what I want to do. We know what we need to do to raise them. We know that we are here to have them know Jesus and have them be brought up in a God-fearing home. So we have a different way of raising our kids than I was raised. So it
Mhm.
does play a role into knowing what I want to do versus what I had.
Mm, mhm.
Is that answer
Um,
your question?
yeah, I think so, because it's still a journey, right? And you became a believer while you and Greg were together, is that right?
Yeah, but I grew up going to church. I mean, so I was always Christian, but I didn't really know
Mm,
what that meant. And then I
sure.
remember feeling, oh, I remember being in my bedroom one time in Devil's Lake, and I remember thinking somebody said it was a gift. And I'm like, I'm not worthy of that gift. I'm nothing, I'm not worthy of that. I can't accept it. I remember thinking I was a kid. So,
Wow.
yeah. So it wasn't until it was Pastor Doug was at church. It was in 2004, June of 2004, I think it was. And Pastor Doug had finished a sermon, and I thought, because he's talking about, if you're going to, go to heaven, if you are, accept Jesus as your savior and accept that gift. And I thought, I don't know that I've really accepted the gift. And I don't know if I'm in the book of life. I need to go talk to Pastor Doug. So yeah, that's kind of when it happened.
Yeah. I didn't realize it was that close to before you guys got married. How long were you together? How long had you been together when you came to our wedding?
Maybe about a year, maybe 2 years. I remember sitting in the audience with Greg's mom, and I'm like, when is he gonna ask me? I was getting a little perturbed. Like, why are we not engaged? So I think I don't remember. It was around the 2 year, maybe coming up on the 2 year mark, because we had been together 2.5 years before we got engaged. I'm like, what took you so long? Everybody else got married before we did.
Okay. Well, if that's right then, and you got married in August,
No, July.
July of 2005, and we got married May of 2003, so maybe you weren't together all that long. Maybe it was like
Okay.
6 months or something.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We started seeing each other January of 2002.
Oh, okay, so it was just over a year.
Yeah. I knew it had been a
Okay.
little longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
I had never met Greg until he was in our wedding. I never met Jared until he was in our wedding. I can't even remember. Oh my gosh. Kimberly, who was the other groomsman?
Was there John? Was there a John?
John?
Am I right?
Might have to edit this out. Is that who it was? Is that his name? Yes.
Yes. I didn't know if I could say the last name. I knew who
You
it
might
was.
edit that part out.
Okay.
Oh gosh. John. Okay. And I think I had met Eric.
I don't even remember him, but yeah.
Well, he was older than it's funny when our husbands grew up together and like we know the same people, but not.
I liked Cody. I thought it was fun. And then I think we went out and I'm like, this
Yeah,
is just a cute little town.
it really is.
Yeah.
Well, it was. I haven't been there in a very long time.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I think the last time that I went to Wyoming, oh, I think was like right around Haley's 7th birthday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so at least 7 years ago. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we hadn't, and then Greg's parents even. I mean, granted, they knew Brent most of Brent's life, so it's not like they were total strangers, but they were to me,
Yep.
like basically everybody from Brent's side of the guest list was a stranger to me. But I just think it was so great that you met us at our wedding. We still remember very much about meeting. And then the next time we met was at your wedding. And
Yeah.
then we moved there 6 months later. And after that, it was like everything that Brent and Val go through with Haley, with Harlan, with Heston. Greg and Kimberly are right there.
Yep. And we'll continue to be here, even though we're miles apart.
That's right. That's right. We're just a phone call or a text away. Except for it is funny because if I want to text you, I'll type in Kimberly in my contacts and nothing comes up. And I'm like, oh, it's because I have her as Kim. But I don't know, like, I don't know the password for my Google contacts or whatever. So like I can't edit anything. And basically if I lose my phone, I'm gonna lose 80% of my contacts.
Oh no. Maybe Greg can help you with that.
Yeah, or my husband. I don't even want to ask my husband because he'll be like, have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
No.
Those IT guys.
Well, it's like me or the volume. Here I was turning my screen up and I thought it was the volume. I mean, really.
Right? So do you think, like, with you being in fitness, Greg being in technology, do you see kind of path? You talked about Lola being a vet, but what about Abigail or Caleb? What kind of paths are you noticing them taking?
Abigail loves sewing. I don't know that
Really?
it's a passion, but she does like to sew. And so she wants to do something with NDSU and going into the apparel and design textile program or whatever it's called. So she
Okay.
wants to go into that program. So we have to schedule a visit. Oh, can't even do this. So we have to schedule a visit and go up there and see what it all entails. Because I'm thinking, well, what kind of a job can you get with that? Do you be a buyer for a big store? Or do you want to be interior design? What do you want to? So she needs to get a little bit more of a direction.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, I think he is going to be a techie person. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, maybe engineering or something like that. He likes that stuff. And
Is
then
he
Lola.
is he like into taking things apart and putting them back together? Or like when you
Yes.
say engineering, what?
Yeah. I don't know what kind. I'm just guessing. It's going to be some kind of techie or maybe yes, he takes everything apart and puts everything together. He fidgets with everything. Like,
Okay.
could you just, yeah, he loves to fidget with stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. He's expressed going to MIT, and I'm like, can we go a little closer to Fargo?
Either that or you're gonna have to pick up and move, Mom.
I can't move again. That's too emotional for me. I really need some help in this whole emotional journey.
Well, don't look at me because I am no help in that. That's not an area where I am necessary. I'm gifted in expressing emotions. I can tell you that.
You know, my spiritual gift is empathy. I'm like, oh,
Empathy.
awesome. What am I supposed to do with that?
Well, help people work out, I guess, somehow blend the two together.
I know. Just get started in small steps. That's all I can say. Yes.
There is a mom here who is also into fitness, and she said something about, just when you're in the kitchen cooking, just making movements or something. And so one day I don't even know what they're called, but like when you lift your legs up and you just pat your thigh with your hands.
Like knee raises?
Yeah, I guess like you're marching kind of.
Yeah.
Knee raises, the technical fitness term. So I was just doing that in the kitchen, and I'll tell you, like that one time I did it, it was great.
I know. See, it's just moving your body. It's getting the blood flow. It's getting oxygen to your muscles. I mean, you
Yeah.
know what I used to do when the kids were really little is I'd be in the kitchen and I would put on a CD of something, or maybe even just the radio, but a song would come on, like Tayo Cruz Dynamite or something, and we would dance.
Yes.
Just dance.
I'll tell you, that is something that I still do, mostly because it embarrasses the tar out of my children.
See?
But it's so much fun.
I know. And you're burning so many calories. You're working muscles while you're just having fun.
Yeah. And you never realize how long a song is until you're trying to dance to the whole thing.
Right?
There are some long songs out.
Oh yes, and I videoed my kids just dancing and twirling in the kitchen, and I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's fun when you have little ones too to let them dance and video it.
Well, why not still dance even though they're older?
Oh, I do. We do. We do. In the living room, what we'll do is we'll put on YouTube and we'll just play videos of like Michael Jackson or whatever, and we're just dancing all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it's just expanded. Not just the kitchen; it's in the living room now too.
right. Well,
Yeah.
and those are gonna be some of the core memories of our kids, I think, like, mine are super embarrassed all the time, but you know what? When they get older and they'll hear a song, they'll be like, "Oh, my mom used to dance to this.
I
So
know.
awful."
I know, and they don't realize it now, but they are going to want to come back and do that again. Maybe with their kids.
Oh, but don't you think though, like, every stage of motherhood is just a new adventure, and it's as enjoyable as a stage that you're just coming out of?
It is. It is because now I see Abigail and she's going to be going to her second prom. She has a boyfriend and he is just as sweet as can be. So there are those things. And then I see Caleb just kind of blossoming in middle school and getting his friends. And I've even got you guys when you get compliments too from other
Oh.
kids' parents when they say that they're glad that they're hanging out with their kid and that they're such a positive influence on them. Oh, that's like
Oh,
a proud moment.
fills your mama heart, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. It makes you like, I know the compliment was to Caleb, but I'm like, hey, he's my son. This is great. So I mean, there's those things where you can, just watch all that.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
pride in that too. I mean, I love the little stuff, the little giggles and the little toddling, and I miss that, and I love that. And we have, we immersed ourselves in that for so long, and now
Yeah.
I'm just taking it in a different stage.
Yeah. Are you big into looking back through photos and videos and
Yes, we just did it on last weekend. We found our camcorder that we used to take out all the time, and I'm like, we used to take this out all the time. We need to take it out again because we're going to miss all the moments now. I don't want to just use my phone. Like, let's just
yeah.
try to get that camcorder out again and just let's leave it sitting on the counter and maybe the kids will just take it and just, you never know what they'll come up with, right? So I'm like, let's just
Yeah.
leave it out. But then we had some videos on there that were left on the little card reader or whatever it was.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
we watched 48 clips of Abigail's 7th birthday and Caleb's birthday, and we spent Friday and Saturday night watching these videos. And Lola was asking, she's like, are we going to watch more home videos, Mom? So I think
Oh,
it's
and she
about,
wasn't even in them?
she was in them. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. She was a baby. And then there was her first birthday. And yeah, I'm very big at looking at photos. So, and videos. So I'm like, we need to take them out and we need to video what we can when they're this age. We did it so much when they were little. We should do it
yeah.
now when they're in middle school and high school too. So we have something to look back on at this
Yeah.
age. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember which birthday of Abigail's it was. I can't remember, but I remember that we were there and there was so much little girl screaming. And I just looked at Brent and I was like, I can't. Like, I don't care how good these black bean brownies are.
We
I
had
can't.
cake.
Oh, yeah, cake from Hornbachers. That was always your thing. The
Oh
birthday
yes.
cake from Hornbachers.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So real cake, not black bean cake.
Zucchini cake, guys. It's zucchini chocolate cake. You'll never know.
Deceptively delicious. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we made it too. Actually, it's pretty good. So, any parting words for moms who maybe just find themselves like I found myself today, overwhelmed, stressed out, feeling defeated, like what else can I do because I'm just going to screw it up. What would you tell them, just one simple tweak that they could do right now today?
Oh, maybe probably in the words of my husband. Well, mine would be breathe, and then my husband's would. Did you pray about it?
Mm,
I mean, you can do that anywhere. So
yeah. And you can breathe and pray while you're doing squats at your stove.
see, you
Or what are they?
multitasking.
Knee raises?
Yes, knee raises.
Oh, Kimberly, well, I am so glad that you agreed to come on here and talk about your motherhood journey and fitness and faith and everything in between. It's been a blast, friend.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me. I love you, Val.
I love you too. All right, we'll talk later.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head on over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.